hello again for what is now going to be the second of our lovely skirmish focused videos. This time we're going to look at some sample deck lists, some of which have seen a bit more play than others, unfortunately, some of which I've just thrown together to give you a bit of a starting point. If you're wondering how you can get access to these, I will have the Bushi Builder links in the description for the video down below, so you can just click through there and get access to them. The first thing to note, so if you look at them, they won't have a role selected. All of these decks will appear as invalid on Jigoku. However, to make them so you can use them on Jigoku, which if you refer to my other video about how to play Skirmish on Jigoku, you'll see how that works. So essentially they all have 5 provinces in. They're all 3 strength provinces. Don't trigger the abilities. That's just not how the format works. Just treat them as blank, ignore any reactions, but treat them as thing. And they all have Toshi Rambo in because I find that it's a lot easier to ignore one of your provinces if it's just the face up one. And it also, by adding an element of randomness in, makes it so that you aren't, picking the mulligan and things that benefit you every time. But let's not get bogged down on that. So let's look at a few things about how these decks are built, which sort of reflects the format, which I think could be quite interesting. And let's start with Unicorn. So this is one, unfortunately, that I haven't had a chance to test yet. But you'll see that when we were building this deck, I put in Shiro Shinjo because that way you don't have to automate the fate, which is great. What are we thinking about? We're thinking about 6 fate. How are we going to spend it? So we're looking at these lower cost characters, certainly the 2 cost characters in there. Yasamura, Young Warrior. Then we do get up to 3 and 4 costs, but not that many. With the idea that maybe you'd buy one of these once a game, or you'd disguised him over someone else. Tetsuko, of course, you still want to buy if she comes up because she's very powerful. Then things like Windswept Yurt, of course, Shitomi Encampment's still strong, especially if you get it on a province that's broken because it won't discard, and then you can permanently have it there to ready your characters if you win a conflict, which is very strong. And then after that, we've just gone sort of like for a tweaked version of the Unicorn Tower deck from sort of current play. I think personally, if we test this a bit, we'll see it's a bit too expensive, but we'll see how this works out. I think Cav Reserves and possibly a Dawn Archer may be too expensive for this format, but I think equally, if you get one of your Tetsuko Towers online with a Fan of Command, since there's only 2 conflicts a turn, you will be able to dominate those very easily without a lot of attachment. So I think this could work out. I think it will require a decent amount of fate management. We'll just sort of see, obviously some better Unicorn players than I am are going to tweak it. I should say some of these decks I've made, some of these decks I've taken from other people who haven't posted them online yet. If that person who sees their deck on here wants to lay claim to it and say that it's theirs and set up their own Bushi Builder page and talk about it themselves, then by all means, I just wanted to give people a starting ground to start thinking about how you build for the for the skirmish format. And you'll see as a theme through all of these decks, the cost curve is a lot lower in terms of what you're trying to buy, because actually if you buy a 1 and a 2 cost character in a turn, and that 1 cost character can break a province with 1 buff or with something like that, then suddenly you're more at an advantage over someone who can buy a one character who can potentially take a province. So this Lion deck is very much focused on honor, so start at 6, so you only have to gain 6 honor to win. And if we look at all of the little effects that can gain honor, like Honored Blade, True Strike Kenjutsu for a duel, a Perfect Cut to gain an honor from a character leaving play, Honor in Battle, Even the Odds, Prepare for War. There's loads of Festival of Fortunes. There's loads of little honoring effects throughout this deck that will gain you 1 honor here and there. Hero of 3 Trees as well. Venerable Historian, of course, honors themselves. So I think Lion, especially with things like Hall of Victories and stuff, has a lot of little tools to gain 1 or 2 honor from conflicts. And of course, you really only need a few of those to trigger to win the game through honor. So I think that'll be quite interesting to see. I haven't seen that one played yet. And then we move on to Scorpion. This one I know has been played a fair bit and is apparently quite fun. Though how often he got Shoujo in play, I don't know. This is very much a switch deck, so just focusing on getting out your guys, maybe trying to break some provinces while also threatening a bit of dishonor. If anyone was going to do switch, it would be Scorpion. you see a lot of theirs have 3, which is enough to break a province, which is quite a big factor here. And then most of these decks have favorable ground. Imperial Storehouse, nothing changes there. A lot of them are running Scavenger because of a smaller deck size. Kachiko is quite expensive, but we'll see how those work out. Personally, I'm shearing away from 5 costs in the deck, but when you get them into play, their abilities usually are more powerful than anything else on the board, and your opponent may not even be able to buy one. So very expensive deck here, especially with no passing fate, but apparently it has seen some success, so I'm sure Scorpion will just keep Scorpioning on, regardless of the format. Moving on then to Dragon. Dragon deck is very much an aggressive. I built this deck. I haven't really tested it much yet to test out the new dueling mechanics. So very much full of these cheap dueling characters and things like that. Lots of little duels, and then Masahige and Hitomi. So kind of tower a little bit on Hitomi. That's good if you have the time. Maybe Nitem Pupil if you want that. Oh, actually, I can't put Nitem Pupil in here, can I? Sorry, that's my mistake. Let's take out Nitem Pupil and let's replace it with something else. Add in two. What's a good shout for this deck? I don't know. Figure it out at another point. I'll just chuck in 2 Inscribed Tanto. It's always a good one to have. Yeah, so I mean, this deck very much is focused on winning 2 duels here and there. Maybe use the return offense to stop your character from bowing so you can defend. I put in Wrath of the Kami because I want to test it, because the idea of losing an honor to get +1 province strength isn't very appealing in the main game when province strength numbers are a lot higher, and so is conflict force. But actually, if your opponent's only attacking with a 1-cost character, because that's all they had the fate for, who's only got 3, and they only have 6 cards in hand, suddenly that's spending 1 honor to make them play a card becomes a lot more valuable. So I'm curious to see how that will play out. I'm just testing it. I've heard that it could be good, so we'll see how that goes. One card that I think will be a standout winner in this format is probably needs to be banned is Agasha Taiko, because if you only have 1 province left for them to attack, and they've broken 2 or more, and you buy her and target that province, they can't attack that round. So you have a round where they can't win and you can. So I think personally Taiko is going to need to be banned. I think she got through playtesting somehow, and I think that's a mistake. I think her ability is actually going to break the game if she flips on the wrong turn. I mean, it's situational. It has to be on the turn when they're attacking you and you've only got 1 province left. But equally, I haven't seen any other cards in this format that would just say your opponent can't win this turn. So, maybe it's strong, maybe it's not. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I think the rest of it fairly explanatory as a dueling deck. The dice shows may prove to be too expensive when combined with what else you've got to do in this deck. And a bit of Kakita Blade for a bit of honor gain as well, just to see if you can switch as well, which I think would be interesting. To see how much you can get from all your duels with the new dueling effects. I think at a certain point your opponent's going to be worried about you honor running, hopefully. So we'll stop giving you honor in duels and just accept that he's going to lose. So then we move on to Crane. Crane hand destruction in this format. I've played against this deck like 6 or 7 times, and it is just a bit brutal. Spies at Court, I feel, is a bit too powerful in this format, because when you only have 3 cards, max 6 cards on the first turn, and they can ditch a third of what you've drawn, I feel like Spies at Court is probably a bit too powerful for this format. Might need to go. Policy Debate's very strong. Over here seems to be working well as well, because you can get rid of 2 cards from their hand, which again, some of these cards that are balanced around the 5-card draw in the main game are actually a bit strong in this format. Though whether or not they're unbalanced, it's hard to say. So I think definitely Spies at Court, maybe over here as well. Anything that gets rid of 2 cards from your hand when you're only drawing 3 a turn is huge, because you could actually win a political conflict with Letter from the Daimyo and Spies at Court and get rid of more cards than a person can draw in 1 turn, which I think is pretty huge. So then we move on to just the Kakita Ryoku getting honor. Doji Gift Giver is an interesting one, because when there's only 1 conflict a turn, suddenly that effect of bowing a character is huge. So, sorry, I just got a text. So he's already said that, No. So I have already said, not he, I'm talking about myself. Basically, bowing a character in a conflict where you only have one a turn becomes worth one fate. It's a lot more impactful. And you'll find that with a lot of these little effects throughout the game, is that they become a lot more impactful when you've got a lot less to play with. For example, Tengu Sensei attacking where they can't attack you back in their one conflict. It's pretty huge, especially when there's a lot fewer characters on the board because you have a lot less fate to buy them. So create hand destruction, I think, is definitely going to be a strong idea in this format. Phoenix Honor, yeah, Phoenix Honor. I mean, that's the thing. Lots of people play Shigenja, sure. Lots of honor gain. Shiba Sakun, there's always going to be 3 rings unclaimed every turn. Nice bit of Sage of Gisei Toshi, very much just defend. I didn't build this deck, but I'm curious how it goes. It's very defensive, but it has lots of little ways to gain honor, much like Lion. I don't think it's strong as Lion. It does have a lot of little ways to gain honor. Very much sort of a switchy honor gain deck. And then Crab I just literally threw together because I realized I didn't have a Crab for this, so I'm sure after this video some Crab is going to give me a load of grief about how it doesn't have everything. But really I've just taken the whole sacrifice theme and just sort of, let's put those who serve in here, sorry, and just sort of fleshed it out into this format as well because I think it will work just as well. Oh, that's what it's missing. I knew it was missing something. It's missing Cooney Laboratory. Let's get those Cooney Laboratories in here as well and rebuild. Or is rebuild banned in this format? No, I don't think it is. Okay, so it's missing rebuild as well. Let's put both of those in and then I'll take some cards out in a second. Very much the idea here is just to build your swarm, a slightly smaller swarm, but then everything is smaller in this format, so that's fine. And you know, just work on it in that way and just, win the same way you usually do with slightly less tower and plenty of plenty of little guys who are ready to just smash their faces into the opponents to win for you. Of course, without Kyuden Hida, it will be interesting to see if the tempo can maintain itself on this deck, but I think there's still enough good cards in Crab and Crab Sacrifice especially for this to play out. I do, however, think there's too many holdings in this deck now because it's just going to be too much. So what do we get rid of? I think we get rid of Favorable Ground, maybe. Let's get rid of Ogiri. Someone will have to test this and tell me if there's too many holdings in this. This is really, I mean, as I say, I'm just trying to get people started and bring a bit of enthusiasm. I have no doubt that the players from each clan who are much better at playing that clan than I do will turn around and make much better decks than I've thrown together. Though some of them already have. I think especially, I know my friend has been testing this Crane hand destruction deck, and it has been working quite well. And I know that the Scorpion Switch and the Liar on our deck have had a bit of testing, but Crab and Unicorn definitely need some work, so please feel free to take these ideas or throw them out or iterate on them. But you've got something to start off with.
So, I just thought I'd show you quickly sort of how you load these into Jigoku. So yeah,
you just decks, new deck, and just copy one in. Let's just do this now so there's no confusion. Copy it in. It will always be invalid, but that's all right. Crab, Splash, Splashing Unicorn. It's never not going to be invalid. That's fine. Nothing stops you saving it anyway. The main thing is that it has 5 provinces and a stronghold, because otherwise it will confuse the game. So just keep that in mind and don't be put off by the fact that it says invalid. Obviously, you can't play something. Oh, that's right. Unfulfilled duty can't be in this deck because it requires an earth roll. As I imagine, as you've seen here, there are going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of instances where people are putting things in that aren't supposed to be in there, just as they get used to these new deck building rules, as I myself am doing. So, expect to see more of that. Let's not have fulfill your duty. Let's put in a perfect cut. Screw it. That'll do. No. Let's not do that. Let's put in a conflict character of some description. Where was that stoic gun? So let's put in one of those. That'll do. All right, so there we go. A crab deck, a slightly legal crab deck. Let's just delete that now. All right, so this I think is the end of my video. I don't want to get any more into it than that. As I say, this is more of a hype video, just like the others I've been posting to try and get people on board with the skirmish format. Start them off with some deck ideas if they're wondering how does this even work. Get them in there. And of course, I expect better players than I and all these crowds. Except maybe Dragon. I mean, this deck is interesting. If dueling works well, then it is interesting. So yeah, we'll see. I'll be doing, or if I've already done it, a video on how to manual this game on Jigoku. I think the only confusing thing is to how to manual the new dueling rules, but equally that's something that you can do. It's once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad. And of course, if you're wondering what the hell I'm talking about and what all this skirmish business is, then of course I will direct you to my first video where I explain the new rules for the skirmish video, which will be linked in the section below, along with the links to all of these decks. So thanks for listening. Nice short video this time. Let me know if you have any questions. If any of you end up with better decks you want me to do a run through or play against you on stream or something like that, I'm very much keen to play a bit more of this format. So let me know and we can do